In this video, I will be sharing with you a true historical story of one of Africa's worst dictator, the Idi Amin of Uganda, the Africa's greatest dictator of all time. Idi Amin Dada, popularly known as Idi Amin, was born in 1925 and died on 16th August 2003. He was a Ugandan military officer and politician who served as the third president of Uganda from 1971 to 1979. He ruled as a military dictator and is considered as one of the most brutal despots in modern world history. Idi Amin was born in Koboko in what is now known as Northwest Uganda to Kakwa father and Lugbara mother. In 1946, he joined the King's African Rifles of the British Colonial Army as a cook. He rose to the rank of lieutenant, taking part in British actions against Somali rebels and then the Momo uprising in Kenya. Idi Amin did not write an autobiography of himself and did not authorize an official written account of his life. There are discrepancies regarding when and where he was born. Most biographical sources claim that he was born in either Koboko or Kampala around 1925. Other unconfirmed sources state his year of birth from as early 1923 to as late 1928. Idi Amin's son Hussein has stated that his father was born in Kampala in 1928. Abandoned by his father at a young age, Idi Amin grew up with his mother's family in a rural farming town in northwestern Uganda. A historian, Gowedeko, stated that Idi Amin's mother was Asa Ate, born in 1904 and died in 1970. She is an ethnic Lugbara and a traditional herbalist who treated members of the Buganda royalty, amongst others. Some sources have also described Idi Amin as being Miss Kakwa and Nubian region. Idi Amin joined an Islamic school in Bombo in 1941. After a few years, he left school with only a 4th grade English language education and did odd jobs before being recruited to the army by a British colonial army officer. Uganda gained independence from the United Kingdom in 1962, and Idi Amin remained in the army, rising to the position of major and being appointed commander of the Uganda Army in 1965. He became aware that Ugandan President Milton Obote was planning to arrest him for misappropriating army funds, so he launched the 1971 Uganda coup d'etat and declared himself president. In 1972, Idi Amin expelled Asians, a majority of whom were Indian Ugandans, leading India to severe diplomatic relations with his regime. In 1975, Idi Amin became the chairman of the Organization of African Unity (OAU), a pan-Africanist group designed to promote solidarity among African states. Uganda was a member of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights from 1977 to 1979. The United Kingdom broke diplomatic relations in Uganda in 1977, and Idi Amin declared that he had defeated the British and added CBE to his title for conqueror of the British Empire. As Idi Amin's rule progressed into the late 1970s, there was increased unrest against his persecution of certain ethnic groups and political dissidents, along with Uganda's very poor international standing due to Idi Amin's support for the terrorist hijackers in Operation Entebbe. He then attempted to annex Tanzania Kagera region in 1978, which made the Tanzanian president Julius Nyerere order his troops to invade Uganda in response. Tanzanian army and rebel forces successfully captured Kampala in 1979 and ousted Idi Amin from power. Idi Amin went into exile, first in Libya and then in Iraq and finally in Saudi Arabia, where he lived until his death in 2003. Idi Amin's rule was characterized by rampant human rights abuses, including political repression, ethnic persecution, extrajudicial killings, as well as nepotism, corruption, and gross economic mismanagement. International observers and human rights groups estimate that between 100,000 and 500,000 people were killed under his regime. On 19 July 2003, Idi Amin's fourth wife, Nalongo Madina, reported that he was in a coma and near death at the King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, from kidney failure. She pleaded with the then Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni to allow him to return to Uganda for the remainder of his life. President Yoweri Museveni replied that Idi Amin would have to answer for his sins the moment he was brought back. Idi Amin's family eventually decided to disconnect life support from him, and Idi Amin consequently died at the hospital in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on 16 August 2003. He was buried in Ruwais Cemetery in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in a simple grave without any fanfare. He was buried like a chicken in Saudi Arabia. After Idi Amin's death, David Owen, a great journalist, revealed that during his time as the British Foreign Secretary, after Idi Amin's death, David Owen revealed that during his time as the British Foreign Secretary from 1977 to 1979, he had proposed having Idi Amin assassinated. He has defended this, arguing that "I am not ashamed of considering it because his regime as Ugandan president goes down as one of the worst of all African regimes." David Owen, however, considered Idi Amin as the worst African leader of all time and stated that he should have died a long time ago because he never deserved to live.